Engen Petroleum Limited is committed to health, safety, environment and quality excellence in all our activities, wherever we operate. The hydrofluoric or HF acid alkylation unit is an extremely high-risk area and must be approached with utmost caution. For your own safety, please pay attention during this very important induction video. The Operational Health and Safety Act. Before entering the alkylation unit, there are certain general duties as per OSAC that both the employer and employee need to comply with. Section 8, Employer's Duties. It is the employer's responsibility to provide a safe working environment for his or her employees, provide systems of work and training, identify risks and reduce hazards or remove them as far as is reasonably possible, provide information, instructions, training and supervision, take measures to ensure compliance with the Act, enforce measures to ensure health and safety. Section 14, Employees' Duties. It is the employee's responsibility to obey all lawful instructions given by the employer in the interest of health and safety, look after their own health and safety, as well as those who may be affected by their actions, report all incidents to the employer on or before the end of their shift, cooperate with the employer to enable compliance to the OSAC requirements, report anything unsafe to the employer or HSE rep. Safety first. No work is so urgent that we cannot take the time to do it safely. If in doubt, consult your supervisor and/or the operations plant technician. The HF Alkylation Unit. The hydrofluoric or HF acid alkylation unit is located in the South Complex 1 zone. The operating area is classified as the orange and white barricaded area between 3rd and 4th Streets and between Refinery and Central Avenues. During major turnarounds, the HF alkylation unit boundaries are extended using a temporary fence or barricading, which includes portions of the Alky Cooling Tower, Refinery Avenue between 3rd and 4th Streets, and 4th Street between Refinery and Central Avenues. A brief process overview. In the alkylation process, two gases, namely isobutane, IC4, and olefin butane, OC4, are combined in the presence of a catalyst hydrofluoric, or HF acid, to form high-octane fuel, known as alkylate. Alkylate is used for petroleum blending and is highly flammable. Hydrofluoric, or HF acid. Hydrofluoric acid is a fuming, highly corrosive, toxic, and extremely dangerous substance. It is stored as a liquid that is straw in colour and appears in this liquid phase at temperatures less than 20 degrees Celsius. At temperatures above 20 degrees Celsius, the acid turns into a gas that looks like a white cloud of steam. The gas has a sharp, distinct odour and fumes readily at sea level, expanding 1,100 times. HF acid is highly corrosive and will attack glass, stainless steel, ceramic, natural rubber, leather, synthetic slings, concrete, and metals. The dangers of HF acid. Please be aware that hydrofluoric acid can be fatal if inhaled, swallowed, or contact is made with skin. Concentrated vapors result in liver, kidney, and lung damage. This box represents the area of skin contact required to cause death by HF poisoning. If you are exposed to HF acid, it immediately burns on contact, causing severe skin burns. It causes fluoride burns and hypocalcemia by attacking bone and cell calcium. It causes inflammation of the mucous membranes, your eyes, nasal passage, mouth, and lungs, and may result in permanent eye damage. HF is a danger to the environment. It can pollute surface and groundwater as well as soil. It is an air pollutant. It is hazardous to aquatic life. Unit entry requirements. All work done in the refinery must have a permit to work, or PTW. All normal refinery health and safety rules still apply to the Alky unit. In addition, people working in or entering the Alky unit must obtain an additional permit called an Alkylation Unit Entry Permit, or SF 5099. It specifies all the special precautions needed to protect you from exposure to HF acid. Undergo an Alky medical examination, attend the Alky Induction, and be in possession of a valid Alky Red card. These are only valid for 12 months. Have their badge registered by the respective Engen discipline supervisor to enable access to the Alky change room. Unit entry. Permit receivers must adhere to the following. Permit receivers must go into the unit to do their TSTI and get the operations plant technician to sign. Once the PTW is signed, permit receivers must leave their permits in the retention box in the Alky change room. At the end of the shift, after their handback has been signed in the Alky unit by the operations plant technician, permit receivers must return the PTW to the satellite station. Alky unit rules. No person may enter the Alky unit without permission. Personnel must swipe their badges prior to entering the Alky change room, even if the door is open, as this system is used to determine a head count in the event of an emergency or evacuation, except during a turnaround. No person may enter the Alky unit without an Alky Induction Red card. Staff must present their Alky permit and Alky Red card to the change room attendant, who will check the validity of the Alky permit and the Alky Red card. Access to the Alky unit is strictly via the Alky change room, where Alky PPE will be issued, and through the footbar, except during turnaround. Personnel must check their PPE for defects before donning. All equipment leaving the Alky unit must be decontaminated and neutralized. No person may leave the Alky unit dressed in Alky clothing or PPE. This must be returned to the Alky change room. No personal clothing must be worn under Alky overalls, except underwear and socks. Trouser legs must never be tucked into gumboots. Each person must swipe their access cards upon exiting the Alky change room, except during a turnaround. Report any burning sensations immediately. Personal protective equipment. PPE consists of A, B, and C class suits, depending on the expected severity of exposure to HF acid. The appropriate level of PPE will be specified on the permit to work. Please note that higher levels of PPE still require an A-class overall. All Alky PPE is obtained from the attendant in the Alky change room. B and C class PPE usage require backup. This is a second standby worker dressed to the same degree of protection. A-class PPE. A-class PPE consists of chemical-resistant overalls, Alky goggles, double-dipped neoprene gloves, gumboots, and hard hat. A-class PPE is to be worn when doing visual checks and routine work not involving direct contact with HF acid. It excludes venting, sampling, depressuring, and removal of equipment that may contain HF acid. Trouser legs must never be tucked into gumboots. Please note that A-class overalls are not HF acid resistant. B-class PPE. B-class PPE consists of A-class overalls, PVC pants, PVC jacket, double-dipped neoprene gloves, gumboots, and face shield. B-class PPE is to be worn when doing routine work with HF service, not under pressure. Checks on the acid storage drum and acid settler, or when approaching areas where low concentrations of acid vapors may be present. B-class PPE is also worn when doing work with caustic, sulfuric acid, sodium hypochlorite, and citric acid. It excludes acid sampling and tricock checks. C-class PPE. C-class PPE includes A-class overalls, an air-fed PVC jacket and hood with cone. C-class PPE is worn when doing work on equipment containing HF acid, such as opening transmitters, doing tricock checks, acid sampling, IC4 recycle sampling, opening acid service flanges, removing acid service pumps or exchanges, or whenever specified on the Alky permit. Please note, personnel using C-class suits must report any odours or tastes while using the breathing air. Employees in C-class should be rotated at their own discretion, but at intervals not exceeding 4 hours. Air filtration units are located at each of the C-class hose stations. air hoses are available on the unit for connecting up to C-class hoods. These hoses must be rolled up after each use and any damage reported to the change room attendant and/or the unit operations plant technician. PPE guidelines. Gloves must be tested for leaks prior to entering the unit by first donning and then placing hands into the glove testing vat located on the walkway entrance into the alkylation unit. All PPE must be checked for cuts and damage before and during all work, especially where exposure to sharp objects or hot surfaces exists. Hard hats must be checked before leaving the unit for HF acid and ASO or acid-soluble oil. Gloves must be washed off of any processed material prior to being returned to the change room. Safety harnesses must be checked before leaving the unit for HF acid and ASO and handed over to the change room attendant if decontamination is required. Radios, electronic devices, etc. must be checked before leaving the unit for HF acid and ASO. Alert the operations process technician who will advise on decontamination. Unit safety. As per the alkylation unit procedure, there must always be a minimum of one operations plant technician in the unit. The alkylation unit is equipped with safety showers and eye baths. These have unique location identifications and an alarm that triggers upon activation of either the safety shower or the eye bath. Once the alarm is sounded at the PCC or Process Control Center, an operations plant technician is alerted and requested to respond to the location to provide initial first aid treatment and activate the emergency call-out process if and when required. In addition to this, the unit has a drench shower with a bicarb solution to wash down any persons in B or C class PPE that may have come into contact with HF acid, trace HF acid, acidic hydrocarbons, fluorides, caustic, and any other product from within the alkylation unit. The alkylation unit is equipped with CCTV, closed-circuit television, for 24-hour monitoring of the unit's activities. The windsock is located east of the hydro-ISIM unit. Please note the direction of the wind upon entering the unit, and this is extremely important should you be dealing with alky acid in gas form. The first aid box is located inside the alky change room. The calcium gluconate gel is also stored in a refrigerator inside the alky change room. The safety crib is managed and controlled by Operations Department only. General waste and contaminated waste skips are located west of the furnace. Waste segregation must be done before disposal by all persons generating waste. The scrap metal skip is located east of the alky workshop. This skip is for process piping only, and all insulation must be removed before disposal. Emergency and first aid. For any incident of exposure to HF acid or ASO, acid-soluble oil, remember to activate the safety shower. In the event of an HF acid release or exposure, all personnel must move away from the HF acid area immediately and assemble at the emergency assembly area. The emergency assembly area is located behind the alky cooling tower or outside the OM and S satellite station, depending on the wind direction or unless otherwise directed by the operations plant technician. Phone 3111 or call control on the radio. Speed and thoroughness in washing off the acid is of primary importance. Any person assisting with clothing removal or the application of mineral oil or liquid paraffin, calcium gluconate gel, must first put on nitrile gloves. There is a first aid box in the alky change room, for which Ops is responsible for replenishing stock. Skin contact. Should someone experience skin contact, 1. Activate the shower, which will trigger the alarm and summon help. 2. Under the shower, rinse off thoroughly whilst removing contaminated PPE, clothing and jewelry. 3. When all contaminated PPE, clothing and jewelry has been removed, immerse the whole body in the drench shower for around 3 minutes, continuing to flush off all acid and until calcium gluconate arrives. 4. Remove the victim from the shower. 5. Then apply calcium gluconate gel and massage continuously until medical assistance arrives. It is very important that the individual applying the calcium gluconate gel wears nitrile gloves to prevent a possible secondary HF acid burn. Report any burning sensations immediately. Diluted concentrations may result in a delayed burn. If a burning sensation or skin irritation is observed after working in the unit, phone 031 460 4099 immediately. Come to the main gate at Refinery and request assistance from the Refinery Clinic. Do not go to your own doctor, as he or she may not be equipped to deal with a delayed HF acid or fluoride burn. If you are unable to get through to main gate, contact the South Complex Shift Supervisor at 031 460 3430 or 031 460 3781, who will arrange access and assistance for you. Eye contact. Should someone experience eye contact, 1. Activate the shower, which will trigger the alarm and summon help. 2. Immediately flush the eyes with large amounts of gently flowing water and continue flushing until medical assistance arrives. 3. Hold the eyelids open and away from the eye during irrigation to allow thorough flushing of the eyes, as well as the corners of the eyes. It is very important that if the person is wearing contact lenses, the lenses be removed, if possible. However, flushing with water should not be interrupted, and the lenses should be removed by a person who is qualified to do so. Inhalation or breathing in. Should someone inhale alkylic acid, 1. Activate the shower, which will trigger the alarm and summon help. 2. Immediately move the victim to fresh air. 3. Keep the victim warm, quiet, and comfortable. 4. Do not endanger yourself. 5. If breathing has stopped, resuscitate by using the ambu bag. It is important to remember to apply skin and eye first aid protocols if there is evidence of exposure or contact to the face or upper body areas. Do not use mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Ingestion or swallowing. Should someone ingest alkylic acid, 1. Activate the shower, which will trigger the alarm and summon help. 2. Rinse the mouth with large quantities of water to remove the acid. 3. Give the victim several large glasses of water or milk to dilute the ingested acid. 4. Do not induce vomiting. 5. Give the victim a glass of water with 1 calcium-containing effervescent tablet, such as Calcivita, to dilute the acid. 6. If the victim is unconscious, do not give anything to them by mouth. It is important to remember to apply skin and eye first aid protocols if there is evidence of exposure or contact to the face or upper body areas. Exposure to ASO or acid-soluble oil. 1. Activate the shower, which will trigger the alarm and summon help. 2. Under the shower, rinse off thoroughly whilst removing contaminated PPE, clothing and jewelry. 3. When all contaminated PPE, clothing and jewelry has been removed, apply liquid paraffin or mineral oil generously to remove the ASO. 4. Discontinue applying liquid paraffin after ASO has been removed. 5. Remove the victim from the shower. 6. Apply calcium gluconate gel and massage the affected area continuously until medical assistance arrives. It is important that the individual applying the mineral oil or liquid paraffin and calcium gluconate gel must wear nitrile gloves to prevent a possible secondary HF acid burn. Skin care. The following factors may affect a healthy skin and possibly cause skin rashes or irritation. Constant friction against the skin. Clothing washed with detergents or soap powder if they're not properly rinsed. Working in hot, humid conditions. When the skin is wet from perspiration for long periods of time. Cuts or skin injuries enable irritant substances to penetrate the skin more easily. Personal hygiene is of utmost importance. Use the following good practices. Wash your hands on completion of a job or task. Wash your hands and face prior to leaving the unit. Change your socks daily and use full-length cotton socks and use powder on your feet if possible. If your gumboots are too tight, report to operations immediately. Report all skin rashes and irritations immediately. Maintenance. The following important points should be noted for maintenance within the Alky plant. Do not throw away Manel plug valves or Manel fittings. Do not throw away bar plugs, blinds or spades, end blanks or firewater connections. Never exert undue force on bleeders, as the nipple might break off. Never tap low point drains to clear them of blockages. You may knock them off if you do this. Rather, use a Hodgett's bleeder clearer. All pressure gauges and HF acid service must be protected by a seal unit. All flanges in the HF alkylation unit that are in HF acid service are painted with HF detecting paint and will turn red in the event of an acid leak. B7M bolts are used in the acid section of the HF alkylation unit. All flanges in the HF alkylation unit must be torqued during final box-up. Valve collars and flanges in acid service develop fluoride buildups. These are just as dangerous as HF acid. PSVs in HF acid service have their bellow vents painted in acid detecting paint. A change in colour from orange to red indicates that the PSV bellow vents may be passing. Leave the area and inform the operations plant technician immediately. Signs are posted across the unit where these PSVs are located. Use only Manel trim gaskets on final box-up of equipment in acid service. Do not substitute, change, or replace any valve or threaded fittings in the alkylation unit if it has not been supplied by the area maintenance team. Piping in the alkylation unit has strict compliance requirements, including residual element specifications. Only use that which has been supplied by the area maintenance team. Only Cal-F or Neoflon protective shields must be used between the process and the glass when assembling gauge glasses. Do not use stainless steel fittings in acid service. HF acid attacks stainless steel. Use only Manel fittings. Do not use Manel trim gaskets in high temperatures or steam service. Do not use any grease, for example Chesterton 615, glue or tape when lubricating or installing exchanger bundles, unless these have been supplied or approved by the Alky maintenance supervisor. Do not use copper-based, silica-based or magnesium-based anti-seize agents. Only nickel-based anti-seize agents may be used. Do not use nylon slings in the alkylation unit. Tool neutralizing. All mechanical tools leaving the Alky unit must be decontaminated and neutralized. For guidelines or advice regarding the neutralization of electrical equipment, handheld devices, etc., contact the operations supervisor. Equipment neutralizing. All mechanical equipment leaving the Alky unit must be decontaminated and neutralized. A red tag is used to identify equipment that is not neutralized and will contain HF acid. A yellow tag is used to identify equipment that is in the process of being neutralized and will still contain HF acid. A green tag is used to identify equipment that has been through a neutralizing process but still could contain HF acid. Equipment removal. Do not remove gland follower bolts on any valve still connected to process piping. Any valve, plug, gate, globe or needle removed from the HF alkylation unit must be in the open position. For example, a plug valve has a volume trapped inside when isolated. If the valve is removed from the process, it will still contain the processed product. Any equipment that is to be removed from the HF alkylation unit must first be stripped down to its smallest components, as HF acid could still be trapped inside. This applies to all mechanical valves, instrument and chopper valves, pumps, analyzer components, and PSVs. Important do's and don'ts. Always treat all equipment as though it contains HF acid. Don't take shortcuts. There is no emergency that warrants you running the risk of HF acid burns because you do not have the time to wear the correct safety equipment. Always be aware of wind direction, so that in the unlikely event of an acid release, you can go crosswind and upwind. Ensure that an operations plant technician is in attendance for any work that could result in a potential HF acid release. During C-class work, all other activities in the unit will be stopped, except during a turnaround. Do not work under leaks or under workers opening up equipment in HF acid service. Always cordon off areas where B or C-class work is taking place. The standby must always be in the correct PPE as well. This is mandatory. Remember that any waste or rubble leaving the unit requires a permit and completion of a waste disposal certificate. When there's a chance of an acid release, such as unloading an acid container, personnel must be cleared from the area and the traffic control booms lowered. The shift manager must be informed of this. Never climb on pipings or fittings, especially small bore piping. Important points to remember about the alkylation plant. The alkylation plant is a well-designed and engineered process unit that has adequate protective facilities and equipment. Following the correct procedures and wearing the appropriate PPE makes working in the alkylation unit as safe as it is reasonable to be. Remember that slight contact with HF acid and any acid-related products, such as fluorides and ASO, can result in delayed burns. Failure to follow any procedures, especially in the alky unit, can expose you and your co-workers to potentially fatal situations. Report any contact with HF acid immediately. PPE for the alkylation unit is of the highest quality. Remember to always test both your gloves for leaks by putting them onto your hands and inserting them into the vats provided. B-class and C-class suits must be returned to the change room and not left in the unit after use, as they could become damaged and increase the next user's risk of exposure to HF acid. If you think safety, you will work safely. For any work in the alky unit, always obey the alky zero tolerance rules. 1. No valid alky red card equals no entry. 2. Working in the HF alkylation unit requires an alkylation unit permit SF5099, in addition to the refinery PTW. 3. Entry into the unit is via the front entrance of the alky change room only, except during a shutdown or turnaround. 4. The alky change room has access control to monitor and keep roll call in the event of an emergency evacuation, except during a shutdown or turnaround. 5. Personal protective equipment or PPE as per alkylation unit permit must be complied with at all times in the unit. 6. All work in B-class or C-class PPE requires a backup or standby person attired in similar PPE at the worksite. 7. The first break on all flanges in the acid section will be in C-class PPE. 8. During C-class work involving HF acid, all other work must be stopped except during a turnaround or shutdown. 9. Alky PPE must be returned to the change room before leaving the unit, and no alky PPE must be removed from the alkylation unit. 10. No person is allowed outside of the designated alkylation unit area dressed in alky PPE. 11. The change room attendant must be informed if any alky PPE has become damaged. 12. Equipment, waste, tools, etc. may only leave the alkylation unit following strict controls, including neutralization and the respective removal or disposal certificates. Remember that no work is so urgent that we cannot take the time to do it safely. If you have any questions, please do ask your supervisor or safety officer. Let's work together to ensure that we all go home to our families at the end of each new day.